Welcome back to American Agenda. DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has just wrapped up a news conference in Brownsville, Texas. He was addressing the border crisis, and Mayorkas confirming that more than 200,000 illegal immigrants crossed at the U.S. southern border in July, setting a new record, a 20-year high. It comes as videos have been surfacing showing migrants in extremely crowded situations, packed on top of each other, in complete violation of CDC guidelines, by the way. Let's bring our panel back in. By the way, let's start with Tony Katz. Tony, usually you're with us earlier in the week and you weren't feeling well. I hope you're doing well. We always love having you on the show and hope you're feeling better. Wanted to get your thoughts on this, and first you can give us an update, make sure you're doing okay.
Oh God, I'm doing fine. I had myself a bourbon. I was right as rain. It was nothing. Look, sometimes you're not up to it. And last thing you want to do is not be up to it when you're working with two of the best in you and Heather. The story of Mayorkas is very, very simple. He's not up to the task, and a shot of bourbon isn't going to help the problem with Alejandro Mayorkas. The border is a mess because he decided, and Joe Biden decided, that Trump policies that had value could not be followed because that would mean you were following Trump policies, and therefore you were a bigot and you were a racist and any other thing they called former President Trump. We see clearly and obviously that Kamala Harris going down to the Northern Triangle and saying, "Don't come," didn't do anything. No one's listening to her. No one's listening to Joe Biden. And you notice they don't say it again. They don't say it louder. This problem is a problem they clearly want to have and want to see. They're happier not having a solution, allowing people into the country who have COVID, who don't then show up for either court dates or other things, than they would in actually handling the border and maybe shutting things down until they have a plan.
Yeah, and Melanie, just to follow up on what Tony was talking about, I believe it's estimated 50,000 people have been released without a court date. I mean, theoretically, you give them a court date, say you must show up at this date, and then they decide whether they are allowed to stay in the country or not. But these people didn't even get a date, and of the ones who have a date, only 13% are showing up. Melanie.
Of course. Yeah, of course. I mean, this is completely defending the indefensible. What a failure. You guys know I live in San Diego County in the border, right at the border, and we see what's happening with this border crisis. But here's what really ticks this mama bear off. Back when my children were being schooled at home, upstairs in their bedrooms on a computer, we were providing in-person instruction in the convention center to people that had crossed our border illegally, number one, had no COVID testing, number two, and those teachers were paid to go down there and teach. What in the world is that about?
Oh,
it just infuriates me, the displaced priorities with this administration and what they're doing to just permeate the border with illegal aliens coming into the country, of whom we don't know, and also what about all of the drug cartel? They're loving it, right? Because the Border Patrol agents are deflected in dealing with the people that are coming. And fentanyl is on the rise. The deaths are on the rise. And it's just not fair to the people that live in this country, particularly in border towns, that we're being treated this way.
Yeah, and Derryck, as Tony was suggesting, the administration really doesn't want to solve this.
I don't think they do either. I think that I read a report that said that these illegal immigrants were openly saying that they could not wait until a Democrat was elected because during the campaign, every Democratic candidate for president was saying that they were going to basically open the borders. And so they're allowing these people to come to the southern borders. Now, what's interesting to me is that the administration is picking and choosing what illegal immigrants or what groups of people can come here. They're allowing people to come in through our southern border. But several weeks ago, when Cubans were out openly protesting against communism, they were putting out statements saying that they should not come here and they'd be turned away if they reached our shores. So I don't understand this picking and choosing of winners and losers by this particular administration.
Yeah. And Heather, I thought the vice president told people not to come.
Right, and there's definitely not listening to her. You know, there are calls right now for Mayorkas to be impeached, saying that he's not doing the job at the border. That's one of two things that the vice president was put in charge of, and we see what a huge mess it is. You know, they announced those numbers today, which is the new 20-year high of illegals crossing the border, because the previous 20-year high was last month. So it continues to increase. But the other numbers that they continue to ignore are the amount of COVID cases amongst these illegal immigrants as they cross in. And in the one city of Laredo, Texas, that we've talked a lot about, 40% of the migrants released in that Texas border city, 40% of them are COVID positive.
There you go.
All right, panel, stick around. We're going to talk about a lot of other things coming up.